Welcome, everyone, to the Neurodiverse Teacher Podcast. Today, my guest is Nichole Rogers. Nicole is the broker owner of First Class Commercial, a team of commercial real estate experts that specialize in helping national brands and franchises strategize and achieve their long-term expansion goals. The goal of First Class Commercial is to build long-term relationships that extend beyond the initial transaction and ensure their clients' long-term needs are taken care of by providing services to assist with future events such as lease renewals or potential relocations. Additionally, you should look to check Nicole out in the upcoming season 5 of Wes Bergmann's television show, The Blox, which is scheduled to air this winter. So welcome, Nicole. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me. Just quick correction. I am not the broker owner of First Class Commercial. I am the broker owner of First Class Real Estate Platinum. But I am a part of First Class Commercial. We're a team of franchise owners that run that as well.
Thank you for correcting that. I'm so sorry that I botched the introduction then. That was not my intention.
You nailed it in regards to what we do commercial-wise.
Okay, good. Well, I'm glad I at least got that part, but I am so excited to have you here, and I am going to give you the opportunity to talk more about that and correct anything that I just botched in my introduction. But before we get there, actually, you know what? Let's start with that. Fix what I just said. Introduce yourself to everybody. Let them know what you do, because I feel like that is a really important aspect.
So I'm Nicole Rogers. I'm the broker owner of First Class Real Estate Platinum. We are a franchise off of First Class Real Estate, but Platinum is the one that we own and run. Currently, we're in Georgia and South Carolina. It is a real estate company that partners with agents and brokers to build their real estate success.
And that's really cool. So let me ask you a question about that, because when I was reading things, so is when you say commercial and the franchise, so is that people, like if I decided I was going to buy a Dunkin' Donuts franchise or something and I needed to find a location of where that was going to be, that's something that you could help me with?
Absolutely, yes. So like we do all realms of real estate. We do residential, commercial, leases. We help buyers, sellers, holding. First Class Commercial, we're able to help across all 50 states. Like we don't have to be in that state to help. So we are able to help like people renegotiate lease, get in new leases, find land, find franchises. Like we're able to help all of that on the First Class Commercial side. Mm-hmm. But I don't own that. That's Alan Kuzman. Like, I was like, don't say that, because that's Alan's. But I am a part of First Class Commercial. And Platinum that one's mine. Platinum belongs to me.
Okay. Well, I greatly apologize for my blunder there.
I just wanted to correct it.
No, please. I'm glad that you did. I'm glad that you did. And one thing that I didn't get to mention in the introduction, and I'll let you go more into that, I know Platinum does, is you also help people who want to become real estate agents too, correct?
Correct. So I am in the process of becoming an instructor. So actually I'll have my own pre-licensing course here in Georgia. That will expand into South Carolina as well, because we do have locations in both currently. But for right now, I do mentorships and stuff to help them take their state exam. But we guide them in the right place in regards to like where they need to go to get their license, what they can do. For some people, we offer to pay for their courses depending on where they're at. Other people, we always offer tuition reimbursement, just because it is an expense to get into real estate, and a lot of people don't realize it.
So do they become part of your team after they've gone through the training, or are they on their own? Or?
Sometimes.
Okay.
I mean, I think a lot of time it's kind of like life. Like you don't always like mesh well with everyone. Mm-hmm. So if we don't mesh, like we'll help them find a brokerage that is what they're looking for. If we feel like it'll work, then that's great. Like the reason that we opened our own brokerage was very much so like I've been in other brokerages where my broker didn't know me. I was working with people that like really I was just a number. Like they wanted money.
Yeah.
Our goal is complete opposite. Like I'd rather have a small team, know every single one of them, feel like a family, and everybody mesh well, than go out and just hire everyone and anyone and then, you know, have no idea they ever worked for me. So I guess it just depends. Like there, you know, there's a lot of different personalities. I'm not for everyone. Everyone's not for me. It's just what it is.
I get that, but I think that's great. I think that it's really great that you're helping people who have an interest and who are some of the people who come to you? Is it stay-at-home moms? Is it people looking for a career change? Is it people who used to be teachers and are like, I can't deal with I'm just curious who some of your people are.
Yeah, it's kind of across the board. During the pandemic, real estate went absolutely insane. So real estate agents kind of came from everywhere. A lot of people didn't want to go back to the office. They didn't want to go back into the schools. They didn't. There's a lot of reasons why people got into real estate. To be honest, the majority of the people that we get in the beginning are very much so like, I want to be part-time. I'm still full-time. I've got this income, which we recommend to people if they don't have that savings built up, or if they don't have another source of income coming in, like from a significant other or spouse or whoever, because real estate's not a game that you're going to make money right off the jump. So a lot of the time is people that want to transition from their full-time job into real estate full-time, but they need a part-time starting spot to make sure that they're going to be able to make money and support themselves.
That's great. Well, tell me, how did you get to real estate? Like, what was your life path journey that got you there to being like, okay, this is what I'm going to be doing?
So I actually did hair for 10 years. And then I got pregnant with my youngest. I was teaching at Paul Mitchell, and I got pregnant with my youngest. And I was like everyone else who gets into real estate, or a lot of people that get in real estate, I was like, I need a flexible job where I can stay home with my daughter, and because I missed the milestones with my oldest, and I didn't miss all of them, but I felt like I missed all of them.
Yeah.
And then, so I started real estate, right? Like the course right after she was born. Well, you're up all hours doing that whole thing as a mom. So I finished it rather quickly, got my license quickly. But I also realized that I'm just not a stay-at-home mom. I can't, I mentally can't do it. So and you can't make a lot of money in real estate, just doing it when you want to do it kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I went all in. And then once I went all in, I fell in love with new construction. I did new construction for 6 years, and then now opened my own brokerage.
Which is amazing. So let me go back and capitalize on something you just said about how your brain was just like, no, I can't just be a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
So for my listeners who are just tuning in here, so that Nicole and I got to meet each other about a month ago on a really cool experience, which is the Blox, and we can get into a little bit about that. And Nicole learned what I do, which is talking about being neurodiverse. And so I'm going to put Nicole on the spot a little bit. And she, like me, was an adult when she found out that she had ADHD. And I would love for you to dive in a little bit about that, because a lot of what I like to share on here is showing people who have ADHD, especially young people or even women, that being ADHD, even though it has all of its challenges, doesn't keep you from being successful. So if you wouldn't mind giving us a little bit of your background of what it was like not being diagnosed, finally finding out when you were an adult, and kind of how you've used that to kind of channel the success that you're facing right now.
Right. So growing up, I was, in my time, ADHD, it just wasn't, people weren't diagnosed with it. It just wasn't a thing. I'm sure it was a thing, but most doctors weren't diagnosing it. So I always just got very talkative, always put on my thing. They put me in the gifted program because I was too smart, because I was finishing my work too fast. And then I'd go talk to everybody because, again, I couldn't just sit in my seat. And then that obviously went on throughout. I was in advanced gifted through high school, then in college. I think college is kind of when I realized that I was that definitely ADHD. And then in college is also when we're studying for finals. So friends are here, take an Adderall. And I was like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to feel like. This makes way more sense. I was able to focus on one thing. But yeah, growing up, I always did a lot of things because I was always just kind of going from place to place to place to place. But I also realized that in college, my roommate, she was diagnosed by a counselor at school at Georgia Southern. And she was doing stuff that I had always done that I just never thought about. and like she would like leave cabinets open, like stuff like just small stuff that I'm like, oh my gosh, I do that too. And like then I realized, oh, it's because my brain stops thinking about what's over here and I've got to focus on this. And like I would just bounce. Like so multitasking was like, I just always thought I was a great multitasker. Which now I actually am a really great multitasker. But I've been able to like channel the ADHD more into like my business. So like my brain is always going 90 miles an hour, but I've been able to like, as I've gotten older, I guess manage it more like to make it work for me as opposed to like against me.
Well, do you feel like you had to come up with, probably didn't realize this is what you were doing, but you were almost creating coping strategies to help you manage your ADHD?
Yeah.
Now,
I mean, I think I think it was a lot of like, okay, like I can't do that because my brain's not wired that way. So like I have to do it this way. Like, so example would be like my email and all that stuff. Like I'm overly organized and like everything I do. But I think it's because if I wasn't, I wouldn't know what to do or where to start or what to like. My brain won't let me function if I'm not organized. So like I think that it was a matter of like figuring out what worked for me versus like, oh well, they do it this way. Like why can't I do it that way? Like I just had to figure it out for myself.
Now let me ask, did you deal with a little bit of anxiety at all with it? Because I'm curious to hear, because a lot of times people who are ADHD, especially females, end up dealing with anxiety and it ends up masking some of those ADHD because the anxiety is what gets you to someplace on time or makes sure you turn something in. And that ADHD gets masked by it because the anxiety starts to kind of drive. But in the meantime, it's also kind of messing with your nervous system and screwing up your fight or flight. So I'm not sure, did you deal with any of that at any point too?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still on medicine for anxiety. So that's what they diagnosed me with. Originally was that I had anxiety-ridden depression was what they gave me, which was basically like my anxiety would cause me to like freak out, which then would cause me to have a meltdown, which then would be like a depression thing. But yeah, like in retrospect, like once I went to the doctor that was like, no, like you're very much so ADHD and you have a little bit of OCD in there as well. Like you're very much so there. Like it made more, but I do still take my medicine for anxiety because the doctor did say, well, it helps you, it calms you as long as you're not like, anywhere else. Like I think that you're fine on that. So, but yeah, anxiety was what they gave me. Like that's what they always told me I had. Like, and I mean, I still feel like I have anxiety.
No, and that's common. I'm the exact same way. I have medication for anxiety and for ADHD. And it's because I think oftentimes, and that's why when a lot of people ask me, why are you talking about neurodiversity and mental health at the same time? I go, they're not mutually exclusive, but they all so often go hand in hand because there is that anxiety. And I don't know, did you ever feel like you had a sense of like, okay, something is going on. I'm not sure what it is. Like, but I can tell that something a little bit different about myself. But obviously, I don't want people to think I'm different. So, do you ever feel like you kind of subconsciously, consciously knew and you were trying to mask it so that people didn't realize that there was something going on?
Yeah, and I think that feeling is what made me so anxious all the time. So like I would feel overly anxious because I'm like, I can't do that. Like what you're like my husband, I love him to death, but like his life is organized chaos. Like that's basically what I say it is because how he does things, I have no idea. But like that because of how my ADHD works causes my anxiety to go through the roof. Like I get so anxious for him and it has nothing to do with me. But I'm like, I just won't look. Like, so like I feel like growing up, like I kind of was the same way. Like I would always just kind of like, just don't focus on them. Focus on what makes you like what works for you and how you're going to get through this. And then, but like I said, I feel like that would always make me more anxious because then I'm like, am I different? And I just am not like, why can I not just be like them? Like they don't seem to have a care in the world. Whereas I'm like freaking out over here. So yeah, like so I definitely felt it growing up. I just didn't, like I said, I didn't know what it was. And then in college, they gave me anxiety and I was like, oh, okay.
Did you ever feel kind of alone in that feeling too? Because that's one of the biggest things I hear from people when they're going through that. Because I think I felt that way too. And a lot of young people I talk to, like you don't because you don't realize other people are experiencing it too. There's like this sense of, I feel very alone and I don't want people to know. I think we're
Yeah,
getting better
that's what I was
about
gonna
it.
say. Is like I think that's the kicker is that like you don't want to talk to other people about it because if they're not experiencing it or they don't know what you're talking about, like it almost makes you feel like more like an outcast in a situation like that. Like, or at least that's how it was in my mind. Like I was thinking, okay, if no one's gonna agree with me on this, then I'm gonna look like the weirdo over here and then become like the talk of the conversation. When in reality, half of my friends had ADHD. We just never talked about it until we became adults. And then it was very much so like, see, it makes so much more sense now. Like we all had a lot of the similar things that were happening, like the too talkative, going to the principal, like very sociable, like
Yep.
that
Because
was
that
that.
was the exact same that was always written on my report cards too.
Yeah.
Like social butterfly,
Yes.
daydreamer, just needs to pay attention more, like that type of thing. So it was the same thing. But I think we also at a time too, mental health, especially when we were younger, was such a stigma. Like something was wrong with you, like
Yep.
you were crazy or something was wrong. And so I think too that we were afraid that if we were to say something like, I feel this way or something's going on, that we would have been stigmatized and something would have been really wrong with us and we would have been weird. So it's sad because, so like you said, so many of our peers were feeling and experiencing the same thing, but we were all feeling alone in this like isolation because we were too afraid to say anything to anyone
Right. Right. Yeah.
out of fear. And I still have experienced that as an adult too. We've come a long way, but I think people of our generation still have these fears of these stigmas and are like, don't tell anybody, don't say anything to
Keep it to
anyone,
yourself.
keep it to yourself, which is really sad. So I'm glad that you have discovered this about yourself, and I love that you were still really successful, because that is what I want to highlight to people, that yes, you have dealt with ADHD. You even dealt with undiagnosed being ADHD, but it hasn't created this block for you to still go out and achieve what you want. Like you still feel
Right.
very driven, correct?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And you still
I
want
think
to
I
go.
feel more driven because of it. Like I think me, it gives me something to put into. So like, and being a business owner, I feel like ADHD has actually helped me because there are so many things that you have to do like at one time. So like my brain going 90 miles an hour actually helps me like, okay, I can multitask this. And then like, but on the same flip side, I also know like for my brain, I need to have a to-do list and I need to make sure that I actually check stuff off because otherwise if I don't write it down, my brain will forget about it. So like I feel like it's helped me to be successful. I just had to figure out how to make it work for me.
I like that, because what you're saying is where you know you have deficits, you've created strategies to overcome those. But then you also know where you have strengths that are specific to ADHD, and you let those strengths be a superpower. Let it be a big thing for you. In fact, that it can make sure that you are motivated, or make sure that you can get things done. Like you see it for the strength that it is, which I
Right.
think is really great, because I think sometimes people just see the negative aspect of it and they get too caught up in that. And I like that you've differentiated out, here are my areas of weakness, but I have my strategies, but I also have my strengths, and I'm going to play to those and utilize them. And that's what I want people to realize. So I'm glad that you are a prime example of that, and that you are out there doing that and can show people that it can be done. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, let's jump into a little bit about the Blox. I know before we started recording, you and I were chatting
Yes.
significantly about it. We don't have to go down all the rabbit holes we did, but I think it's important for people to know that you had a really cool experience recently.
Yes.
So I will let you explain what it was, what people can look for, and how your experience went for you.
Yes. Okay. So Kristen and I met on the Blox. Wes Bergmann show that is for entrepreneurs. Best way to explain it, how I explain it to everyone, and I'm sure you've probably explained it this way to people, or you have your own way. But it's the challenge, TED Talks, and Shark Tank. If they all had a baby, that's Wes Bergmann's The Block. It's
Oh,
like
I like
that.
that. Use
That's
that.
pretty much like what it boils down to. So it's a bunch of challenges for entrepreneurs. I think for our group, there were 70 of us on our season.
I think so, yeah.
And so, I mean, 70 entrepreneurs. And in the experience alone, like learning how other people are doing stuff and what's working for other people, I think that was like my biggest takeaway. Like I had aha moments every day, but I feel like it came more from the contestants than it did. I mean, now the judges were amazing. Okay, so I guess I should explain that part. So there were judges, like we had challenges, we had to do pitches, we had to talk about everything else, but the contestants and I learned the most from the contestants. The judges were great and they would drop nuggets, but or some of them would. And then but yeah, the contestants were great. So it was basically an entrepreneurship show where I learned all about Kristen, what Kristen does, and I love it and I support it and wholeheartedly like loved everything she ever had to say. Like all of us backed you like the whole time. So you gotta catch it because Kristen's gonna be on there a bunch.
And Nicole will be on there as well too. So make sure you catch it for Nicole as well. And I'm excited for when it comes out. I think it'll. I'm guessing that it's going to come out this winter, just kind of based on when all the other seasons have.
Yeah, I think they said December, January.
And that would make sense. That would make a lot of sense. And you know what I wanted to point out to listeners, of the 70 people that were there, I would probably gander that almost every single one of them, I would go like 95% are also neurodiverse individuals after speaking with them. Either they came and told me self-proclaimed or just after my interactions with them. And I think it's important to note that I think most entrepreneurs are ADHD or neurodiverse to some degree. Yes, because you have to have a level of creativity and see things outside of the box, especially if you're going to be creating something new or doing something different. So I think that's just one more factor to bring up, because I think it's important for especially young people to hear that. Probably look to any entrepreneur that you look up to. I'm sure Gary Vee, all these different people, there's a level of neurodiversity there.
Yeah.
And it was really amazing too to hear people. And I think people see that we all were neurodiverse and go, yeah, here's my tribe.
Like it makes sense. Yeah. Like everybody's like, oh, it really was like, I found my people. Like, these are all my people.
It was. And I think I love interacting with people. Not that I don't love interacting with everyone, I do. But I love interacting with people who are neurodiverse because one, I think we've all had a very shared experience. Like you and I have a very similar experience growing up. And I think two, we all just kind of get our nuances too. We talk over each other and we're excited and we're really passionate about what we do. And it just makes sense and nobody's weird about it. And I love it. So if you're neurodiverse, go out and find more neurodiverse people to hang out with. That's the best advice I can give.
They're your people.
Well, Nicole, you got to tell me a little bit about your business and what you do, but I also want people to be able to find you, connect with you. So share with me a little bit about like where they can find you, social media, websites, anything if they wanted to reach out and learn more, since it really offer a lot of really not just the real estate aspect, but the learning aspect too.
So Platinum, First Class Platinum has pages on social media, on Facebook, YouTube. Well, our YouTube channel is living in Athens, Georgia. Our Facebook page is First Class Real Estate Platinum. Mine is Nichole Hartman Rogers. Either one, feel free to reach out to me on either one. Instagram, same thing. It's Nicole. I think it's just Nichole Rogers on Instagram, and then First Class Platinum on Instagram, and then we have a TikTok. I don't think you can reach out to me on TikTok, but we have TikTok, First Class Real Estate.
They can message you.
They can?
Yeah, they can message you.
Listen, TikTok, I'm just getting into these reels. Like most of my kids are teaching me how to use TikTok. So I'm showing my age on that one. But that you can reach me on any social media platform. And then my email is nicole.rogers@firstclassagents.com.
And if they wanted to learn how to become a real estate, is all that information on the website? They can go
there. platinum.firstclassrealestate.com. And there's a section in there that says get licensed, and then that has it all. If you have more questions, I also just started writing blogs on it. So like, I think my second blog was how to get your real estate license, or it may have been my first one. Either way, it's already on there. But it kind of like goes down a list of like what you need to do. Each state's different. If you're not in Georgia, South Carolina, Florida, Tennessee, or North Carolina, which is like where we basically are right now, are about to be opening in some of them, I can still help you. So just reach out to me. That's what I'm saying. If you want to reach out to me personally on Facebook, I have no problem walking through it, giving you my number, call, talk. I mean, I can talk about real estate all day. So
That's awesome.
I mean, I'll help you. If I don't know the answer, I will find the answer or put you in touch with someone that does have the answer.
That's really nice of you. So I also want to ask you too, what is something I haven't asked you that I didn't get into that is really important to you that you want to have the opportunity to share with listeners, that a message that you feel like you want to get out?
So like I feel like the big thing is like when I got older, like my anxiety got worse, which did, like I said, it led to anxiety, ridden depression. I did go to a very dark place in my life. I did attempt suicide. I mean, that's just like I thought something was wrong with me. I'm never gonna be better, and everybody would be better off without me. Like I just want them, like everyone, to know, especially younger people, especially younger girls, because I feel like girls kind of put themselves in like their own little box, and they're all supposed to be exactly the same and look the same and do the same things, and that's not the case. Like don't don't ever get to a place where you feel like you're the only one feeling that way, because it's not true. So for me, I just want everyone to know that like it does end. That's a big thing. With anxiety, I learned very quickly, you count to 10, you keep saying, I'm not the only one going through this. And then you recount like to 10, like get out of the headspace, because I feel like ADHD can kind of throw you there quickly. And like, especially when anxiety's there, like when your brain's going 90 miles an hour and not on medicine, it can mess with you. So like, I just want you to know, like I overcame it, and I got to a dark spot, but like it gets better. And like ask for help. And if you feel like you're overwhelmed, go to someone else, go to a counselor, go to an adult, go to someone. You don't have to always go to your friends and talk about it if you don't feel comfortable, but go to someone, talk to someone, because odds are not even odds are, I mean, someone else is going through it too. It's not just you. You're not alone. I think that's like the main thing. You're not alone.
Thank you for sharing that, because I know that that's a heavy thing too. We talked about it, like we were conditioned that not to share these things. So
Right.
thank you for sharing it, because I think it's messages like that that are important to share, exactly for why you said it, so that people realize you were not alone, that other people are dealing with this too. And then you can get to a dark place or a difficult place, but you can come out of it too. Just
Yep.
because you're there doesn't mean that's the end. Doesn't mean that things
Nope.
will never get better. Like there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and it doesn't always happen the very next day, but
Right.
it's something that can happen and does happen. You just have to push a little bit.
Yes.
So thank you for sharing that. I think that's really important. And I like how you emphasized it to females too. I think, obviously everybody, male,
Right.
female, no matter how you identify, like you deal with these things. But I think because we were females who didn't get diagnosed, who didn't get recognized, we understand the impact of how females, especially young girls, can often feel like they're in the dark, that
Right.
nobody is seeing them or
Yeah, I
recognizing.
don't want anybody to think I feel like I'm leaving them out. I mean, I just was a girl, and I have two girls. Like, I don't have boys. Like, so
No,
like for me, it's very much so like I see it, and I see it in my girls now. Like, all girls think they're supposed to all fit in this little box, and it's just like, and I think little boys go through that as well. Like, oh well, he plays football, he plays baseball, he does this, he's making A's, he's in the smart class. Like, so I'm sure it's across the board. I just know, like, from a female standpoint. So
no,
I wasn't leaving anybody out, I promise.
oh no, I didn't feel that way. In fact, my one friend and I on my different podcast, we talk about too, not only just that aspect with females, but how females tend to have this ingrained idea of needing to tear each other down too.
Yeah,
Like
instead of bringing up each other and building
yes,
success, like
yes,
there's enough success for everyone.
yes.
Support people.
And it's like this concept, and we couldn't figure out like where we get these messages from. If it ultimately, I think what my friend had decided on was, at one point in time, there was just so minimal of opportunities for females because it
Yep.
was a male world. And again, not beating up on males. My husband hates when that happens, but like not beating up on males. But the reality was there were just so many small opportunities for females. And because there was like one spot for 100 females, that's what made it like develop into this cattiness, tear each other down, because we
Yeah.
all had a claw for this
Instead of being
one
like,
spot.
congratulations, you did it. Like, so proud of you. Like,
And somehow this has continued
yeah.
to get passed down. So we really have to shape or shift this narrative of wanting to see other people fail and be like, I'm so excited for you. I'm so happy for your success. So that hopefully when it's your turn to be successful, you're getting that in return. But I feel like we're only as females just starting to realize that we've all been doing that, and that we've got to kind of start to shift how we see that, and that wherever this was coming from, we've got to figure out where it is and start stopping it so that we can start celebrating everybody's success.
Yeah, quit being bitter.
Yeah.
Be happy for people.
But it happened for way
It's better when you're happy.
I agree. And I think it is something where I want to be your biggest cheerleader, because I hope when it's my turn in the sun, you'll be my biggest cheerleader.
There to cheer me on. Exactly.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, Nicole, thank you so much for coming on the show today and being part of the show. I'm so grateful for your time, for your stories, for your messages. They were fantastic. I hope that any young listeners can really understand what you said, and the fact of like, you're not alone. Seek the help that you need, and don't let any kind of neurodiversity hold you back from being successful, because Nicole is a prime example of going out and slaying it and hitting her goals. And just one thing for another, from hair all the way to real estate, she is a badass. So, Nicole, thank you for joining me today. I'm so grateful to you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. See you all next time on the Neurodiversity